Large category, 31 entries, 200 liter to 400 liter. Hopefully we don't have people emailing and complaining whether the tank was exactly 200 liters, whether it was in the large or the medium category this year. Honorable mention to entry number 70, a 320 liter, 85 gallon aquatic garden, Mountain Flowers. Zhengzong Su, China.
I don't know that this one is a great example of composition, but it certainly creates a good feel. It creates something, a sort of a fantasy feel a little bit. I think the colors he chose, even the way that he used his driftwood, is, from a composition standpoint, I think it's probably a little too symmetrical. You have they're placed evenly on either side, and there's one directly in the center. But the way he used it, and the colors he chose, and the way he presented it, he was very successful.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would have changed in this aquascape would have been the magenta plant up on the right side, and continued to use that orange plant. I think would have pulled it in a little tighter and led your eye in a little better, instead of, I think that magenta distracts a little bit from this entire scape. It's a little oomph that he didn't need, I think.
While this center tree thing it is centered, what I liked about that piece is that he, and again, I assume he did this in a purposeful way, he picked a much smaller piece. So again, just as we were talking about earlier with perspective and leading the eye into the aquascape, it makes it look like you're really looking deep, far away, and that's another tree, but it's just much further away than the other things are.
Third place, entry number 67, 243 liter, 64 gallon aquatic garden, Infinite Wonder, Cam Wong, Hong Kong.
I like this tank. I liked it in the ADA contest too, and I ranked it, and I think it ended up being ranked pretty high in the ADA contest too. Similar to what Gazenfar said about the last tank, the only thing that I really find just pops out at my eye and just wants to keep drawing me back there is that one bright red spot of plants. I think if he had changed that to something a little more subtle, any of the other plants that he's using, that it would have been stronger. I also liked his choice of fish.
Okay, second place, entry number 91, 250 liters, 66 gallon aquatic garden, primary, Hui Kam Man, from Hong Kong.
I think this one just exudes lushness and comfort. You can almost go sit down right on that log right there and think about a couple things. I think from a perspective of the way he set it up, it could be balanced a little bit more, but I think the overall effect is what led it to be so high in the judging and in the final.
I agree. Overall, it's got an appeal. Again, a couple things could be tweaked. That log that JB wants to go sit on could have been angled a little bit, I think, or at least the end hidden so that it didn't look so horizontal, or just exactly. So, but beyond that, yeah, I would want to go sit there too, JB.
All right, first place, entry number 92, 230 liter, 61 gallon aquatic garden, Fond Memories, Cheo Chi Kyong from Malaysia.
It is more or less the same we have to say about a lot of the tanks here, but the way he have used the roots here are also very creative. And when I look at it, the tank, I really like it. But it's there's no special things that you say, okay, it's this and it is this. It's just for me a very nice tank.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's a particularly innovative tank, but it's very well done. I like the layers of tone in the green plants that he's used, from the lighter green stem plants that he has in front of what I think is probably flame moss in the back or something. And I sometimes don't like the very bright white cosmetic sand, and I'm still not convinced that I wouldn't have liked this better with a little subtler sand, but very much like the fact that he's broken up that. If he had just had that as a solid, bright white path, the way you see in some tanks, I think it wouldn't have worked at all. And by breaking it up with the rock coming down, I think it works very, very nicely.
Yeah, just to add to Karen's comments, those rocks that break up the stream, if you pay closer attention to those rocks, I mean, this guy's positioned each and every rock in there, tiniest pebble to the largest rock in that stream bed, and if you pay close attention, they don't look like they've been placed there by a person. They look natural, and that is very hard to pull off. So, I mean, it's very good, very well done.
Large aquatic or extra large aquatic garden, greater than 400 liters, which we had 13 entries this year. Third place is entry number 68, 412 liter, 109 gallon aquatic garden, Simba's Peak by Cam Wong from Hong Kong.
Cam Wong is another pretty regular, both in the AGA contest and ADA contest, and does well on a regular basis. He's again somebody who's very, very good at what he does. It's just a lovely tank.
I think his rocks are positioned very well, and anytime you have angels schooling in your tank, I think you get a couple extra points. The only thing I might have suggested was his foreground is a little uniform all the way across. He could have done a little bit more with that to make it just a little bit more interesting, but again, very well done.
Yep, and another good example of limiting the amount of species to create a more powerful effect. I mean, he used basically one species of background plant all the way through, and it doesn't look like it's been, and it doesn't look unnatural in the trimming. There's no sharp angles or really super round bushes or anything, and that gives it a natural, softer feel, I think. And that white background along with those plants, it makes it look real nice.
Second place, entry number 98, 400 liter, 106 gallon aquatic garden, The World Before Columbus, Pasquale Bonpan, Italy.
Also here, it's very impressive to see the use of the mosses and the selection, which are fitting very good to the different kind of stones.
Again, this is a beautiful tank. We've seen other tanks similar to this. The rock is a little bit different, and I think one of the things that he did different than some of these other tanks that we've seen with tall stones and rocks, tall stones and mosses, is that he gives us a little bit of a valley there to wander up into, which is kind of a nice touch.
All right, the category winner, entry number 66, 432 liter, 114 gallon aquatic garden, Enchanted Forest, Michael G.W. Wong, Hong Kong.
I don't think this one is incredibly unique. However, it can't be denied. Just the way he positioned his driftwood and the driftwood that he selected, and the way that he accented the pieces that he did with the moss that he chose, it's well done, and it deserves first place for sure.
And finally, best of show. So a few technical words on this one. So after the judges individually rank their particular tanks for each category, they end up being virtually sequestered in a room where they must come up with a decision for best of show. And I will say, from the technical coordinator standpoint, that this was one of the more difficult years. And in fact, Jeff is correct. You do not pick 4 judges when you are judging any kind of these contests, because you're going to end up with 2 judges saying one tank is number 1 and 2 judges saying the other one's number 1, and they will vehemently defend their choices, and even down to their choice of second and third, so forth. So we were almost at a deadlock, but I believe one of the judges, and I won't say who, ended up kind of breaking the deadlock, but we were able to arrive at one best of show, and it is entry number 135, the 182 liter 48 gallon aquatic garden Beyond Horizon by Siak Wee Yo from Malaysia. Any further comments on this one?
I'm not going to say if I was for it or against it, but of the two tanks, I don't know if we want to identify the other one. Both of them were certainly worthy of it, and we certainly had some healthy conversations as to why this one won.
Only because we were all in different states and countries at the time. But
All right. Anyway, big round of applause for the judges. It's really a difficult job going through, 150 entries in a month or less and having to score them all. And please, everybody.